Hey guys, tonight we're drifting back to an America that feels almost impossible now. A time when kids rode their bikes until the streetlights came on and nobody thought twice about it. When the milkman knew your family by name and when a handshake still meant something binding. We're talking about the 1950s, specifically the everyday things people did without a second thought that would get you fined, arrested, or at the very least questioned by concerned authorities today. Before we step back in time, take a second to like this video and subscribe if you enjoy these quiet trips through history. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I know someone is settling in at midnight with a warm drink, pretending this counts as productivity. Now dim the lights if you can, switch on a fan for that soft hum of white noise, and get yourself comfortable, really comfortable, like you are not moving for the next hour unless something is actually on fire, because tonight we're exploring a world where children walk to school alone at age 6, where doctors prescribe cigarettes for anxiety, where you could buy fireworks powerful enough to require a permit today, but back then they were just called July. A world where seatbelts were optional suggestions and motorcycle helmets were considered unmanly. Have you ever wondered what it really felt like to grow up in a time when danger was just part of childhood? When parents sent their kids outside in the morning and expected them back by dinner, no questions asked, no phones to check in. What was it like walking into a drugstore where the pharmacist handed you medicine without asking too many questions? How did it feel to ride in the back of a pickup truck on the highway, wind in your hair, nothing but trust and luck keeping you safe? What did freedom taste like before we realized how fragile it actually was? And just like that, it is 1955. The sun is already climbing over quiet neighborhoods. Screen doors are slamming. Someone down the block is revving up a lawnmower that sounds like a small aircraft. And the day is unfolding in ways that would make modern safety regulators break out in hives. Let's start with the morning, when children as young as 5 or 6 lace up their shoes, grab their lunch boxes, and head out the door completely alone. No parents walking them, no carpool lines snaking around the block, just kids, the sidewalk, and whatever trouble or wonder they might find along the way. The screen door slams behind you, and you are on your own. Your mother watches from the window for maybe 30 seconds. Then she turns back to the dishes, trusting that you know the route, that you will look both ways, that the world is generally safe enough for small people to navigate alone. You adjust the straps on your book bag and start walking. The sidewalk stretches ahead of you, cracked and uneven, tree roots pushing up through the concrete like the earth is trying to reclaim it. Other kids join you along the way. Tommy from 2 houses down, the Miller twins from across the street. You walk together in a loose, wandering pack, talking about nothing important, kicking rocks, stopping to examine a beetle struggling on its back. There is no rush, no parent checking their watch, no carefully calculated departure time designed to avoid traffic. You leave when you leave, and you get there when you get there. The route takes you past Mrs. Henderson's house, where her dog barks from behind the fence. The same furious greeting every single morning. You pass the corner store where the owner is already sweeping the front steps, and he waves without looking up. You cross streets without crosswalks, without crossing guards, just the training your parents gave you, drilled into your head with the kind of seriousness usually reserved for not talking to strangers. Stop. Look left. Look right. Look left again. Then go. Sometimes you take the long way, cutting through the alley behind the hardware store where the air smells like sawdust and motor oil. Sometimes you stop at the vacant lot to see if anything interesting has appeared overnight. A discarded tire, a length of rope, treasures in the eyes of children with active imaginations. Nobody is timing you, nobody is tracking you. You're simply expected to arrive, and you do. Every day. Hundreds of kids across the neighborhood, across the city, across the country, walking to school alone or in small groups, navigating the world with a kind of independence that will seem almost reckless decades later. But right now, in 1955, it is just normal. It is what children do. It is how they learn the shape of their world, the rhythm of their neighborhood, the quiet confidence that comes from getting somewhere on your own 2 feet. When you finally reach the schoolyard, your cheeks are flushed from the walk, your shoes scuffed from kicking stones. You join the other kids gathering near the swings, the tetherball pole, the patchy grass worn down to dirt. The bell has not rung yet. You have time. And somewhere behind you, back at home, your mother is finishing the dishes, confident that you made it. Because of course you did. That is just what kids do. The milkman arrives before most families are awake, stepping quietly onto porches across the neighborhood. He does not knock. He does not ring the bell. He simply opens the door, leaves the bottles in the kitchen and takes the empties back to his truck. Nobody locks their doors because nobody needs to, or at least that is what everyone believes. His truck idles softly at the curb, engine humming in the pre-dawn stillness. The sky is just beginning to lighten, pale grey bleeding into soft pink. He moves with practiced efficiency, glass bottles clinking gently in the metal carrier he carries. He knows this route by heart. The Johnsons take 2 bottles of whole milk, 1 of cream. The Parkers want buttermilk on Wednesdays. The widow at the corner house needs just 1 bottle, but she tips well at Christmas. He climbs the steps to your front porch, his footsteps careful, quiet. The wood creaks slightly under his weight. He reaches for the doorknob, turns it, and the door swings open without resistance. This is normal. This is the agreement. He steps into your kitchen, where the faint smell of last night's dinner still lingers in the air. The empties are waiting on the counter, rinsed and ready. He sets down the fresh bottles, cold and beaded with condensation, and collects the old ones. Sometimes he encounters a sleepy homemaker in a robe, already starting coffee. They exchange quiet good mornings, voices hushed so as not to wake the children. Sometimes he sees the family cat, winding around table legs, hoping for a splash of cream. Sometimes the house is completely silent, everyone still dreaming, and he completes his delivery like a ghost passing through. He pulls. The door closed behind him, gentle, respectful. The latch clicks softly. He moves to the next house, and the next, up and down the street, in and out of homes, trusted implicitly by families he has served for years. It is intimacy born of routine. It is community built on small, repeated acts of faith. Your mother wakes an hour later, pads into the kitchen in her slippers, and finds the milk waiting. The bottles are cold and slick with dew. She does not think about the fact that a stranger was in her home while she slept. She doesn't worry about unlocked doors or vulnerability. She simply picks up a bottle, pours milk into her coffee, and starts her day. This is life in the 50s. The milkman is as reliable as sunrise. The door is unlocked because your neighbours are trustworthy, because crime feels like something that happens elsewhere, in big cities to other people. You live in a world where a man can walk into your kitchen before dawn, and it is not an intrusion. It is a service. It is normal. The milk is cold and fresh and delivered with care. The door is unlocked. The neighbourhood sleeps soundly. And tomorrow morning, the milkman will return, quiet and dependable, moving through the early light like clockwork, like kindness, like a gentler time that trusted too easily, and somehow, for a while, got away with it. You walk into the doctor's office complaining about stress, about the knot in your stomach that will not loosen, about nights when sleep feels impossible. The doctor listens thoughtfully, nods with professional concern and writes you a prescription. Not for pills, for cigarettes. Calm your nerves, he says. Smoke a few after meals. The waiting room smells like antiseptic and old magazines. You sit in a vinyl chair that squeaks when you shift your weight, flipping through a copy of Life magazine someone left open to an article about new kitchen appliances. When the nurse calls your name, you follow her down a narrow hallway into an exam room where everything is white and chrome and vaguely intimidating. The doctor enters, white coat, crisp stethoscope draped around his neck like a badge of authority. He asks you questions in a calm, measured voice. How long have you been feeling this way? Are you sleeping? Eating? You answer honestly, describing the tightness in your chest, the racing thoughts, the exhaustion that follows you through the day like a shadow. He listens, occasionally making notes on a small pad. Then he leans back, tapping his pen against the desk. You are too tense, he says. You need to relax. He reaches into his desk drawer and pulls out a pamphlet. On the cover, a smiling woman holds a cigarette, looking serene and healthy. The headline reads, "More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette." He slides it across the desk toward you. "Try smoking," he says. "It will soothe your nerves. Start with a few cigarettes a day, after meals. It will help you unwind." He tears a page from his prescription pad and writes it down, his handwriting looping and official. Cigarettes, as needed for nervous tension. You take the paper, folding it carefully, feeling slightly absurd but also strangely reassured. If the doctor recommends it, it must be safe. It must be medicine. On your way out, you stop at the drugstore. The pharmacist reads the prescription without blinking, reaches behind the counter, and hands you a pack. No judgment, no hesitation, just a transaction as ordinary as buying aspirin. You slide the pack into your purse, the cellophane crinkling softly. That evening after dinner, you light your first cigarette. The smoke is harsh, unfamiliar, burning your throat. You cough, your eyes water, but you keep going because the doctor said it would help and doctors know best. By the end of the week, the harshness has faded. The cigarettes have become routine. You smoke after meals, during breaks, whenever the knot in your stomach tightens, and you feel calmer, or at least you think you do, or at least you have been told you should. This is medicine in 1955. Cigarettes are not just socially acceptable, they are doctor recommended. They are advertised in medical journals, they are prescribed for anxiety, for weight loss, for throat irritation. The long-term consequences are either unknown or ignored, buried under decades of clever marketing and professional endorsement. You trust your doctor. He trusts the science of his time, and the smoke curls upward, quiet and deadly, wrapping itself around a generation that never saw it coming. Saturday afternoon means errands, and errands mean piling into the family pickup. The parents sit up front. The kids scramble into the bed, settling onto the cold metal floor, backs against the cab. The engine starts. The truck pulls onto the highway. Wind whips through their hair as they laugh and shout over the roar of speed and freedom. You climb over the tailgate, your sneakers scuffing against the rust-flecked paint. Your brother is already in, claiming the spot closest to the cab where the wind is not as fierce. Your sister sits near the wheel well, arms wrapped around her knees. You settle in between them, the metal cold and hard beneath you, ridged and unforgiving. Your father glances back through the rear window, makes sure everyone is in, then shifts into gear. The truck lurches forward. You grab the side to steady yourself as it pulls out of the driveway and onto the street. The engine rumbles beneath you, vibrating up through the truck bed and into your bones. At first, the ride is gentle, slow rolls through the neighborhood where your father stops at every sign, waves at neighbors mowing their lawns. You can still hear your mother talking in the cab, her voice muffled but present. Then the truck merges onto the highway and everything changes. The wind hits you like a living thing, wild and exhilarating. It tears at your clothes, whips your hair into your face, steals the breath from your lungs. You squint against it, grinning so wide your cheeks ache. Your brother whoops, throwing his arms up like he's on a roller coaster. Your sister laughs, loud and bright, the sound swallowed almost immediately by the rushing air. The world blurs past, trees, billboards, other cars filled with families who glance over and see you, wind-blown and happy, living a kind of freedom their own children might be experiencing in a truck bed down the road. Nobody honks in alarm. Nobody calls the police. This is just what people do. This is how kids ride when there's not enough room in the cab, or when the weather is nice, or when sitting inside feels like a waste of a beautiful day. You feel every bump in the road, every shift in speed. When your father brakes, you slide forward slightly, catching yourself with your hands. When he accelerates, you press back against the cab, feeling the power of the engine thrumming through the metal. There are no seat belts, no padding, no safety features of any kind. Just you, the truck bed, and the implicit understanding that you will hold on, that you will be careful, that luck and momentum will see you through. The errands blur together, the hardware store, the feed supply, the gas station where you stay in the truck bed while your father pumps fuel, the smell of gasoline sharp and strangely pleasant in the summer heat. Each time you climb back in, the metal is a little warmer from the sun. Each time the truck starts moving, the thrill returns fresh and uncomplicated. On the way home, the sun is lower, the light golden. You lean back against the cab, tired and happy, your hair a tangled mess, your shirt damp with sweat. The wind is gentler now, or maybe you have just gotten used to it. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling the vibration, the speed, the wild, simple joy of being young and unafraid and riding in the back of a pickup truck like it is the most natural thing in the world. July is coming, which means the fireworks stand, appears at the edge of town like a temporary carnival of controlled explosions. You walk up with a few dollars in your pocket, no adult supervision required. The man behind the counter does not ask your age. He does not check identification. He simply asks what you want and starts loading your bag with rockets, firecrackers, and cherry bombs. The stand is a plywood structure draped in red, white, and blue banners, American flags snapping in the breeze. Hand-painted signs advertise the goods. Bottle rockets, Roman candles, M80s, whistlers, sparklers. The man running it sits on a folding chair in the shade, a cigarette dangling from his lips, a metal cash box on the table beside him. He looks up as you approach, squinting against the sun. "What can I do for you, kid?" he asks. You tell him. A pack of firecrackers, some bottle rockets, maybe a few cherry bombs if you have enough money left over. He nods, reaching behind him to pull items from wooden crates stacked haphazardly. He does not ask if your parents know you are here. He does not lecture you about safety. He does not require a note, a signature, an adult cosigner. You have money. He has fireworks. That is the entire transaction. He sets each item on the counter, a brick of firecrackers wrapped in red paper, their fuses poking out like wild hair, a bundle of bottle rockets, thin sticks with colourful paper cones, a small paper bag of cherry bombs, each one round and heavy, promising a boom that will rattle windows. You hand over your crumpled bills. He counts them, makes change from the cash box and slides everything into a brown paper bag. "Be careful," he says, but the warning is casual, automatic, the kind of thing adults say because they are supposed to, not because they expect you to listen. You walk away clutching your bag of explosives, feeling powerful and trusted and dangerously independent. The cherry bombs click together softly as you walk. The firecrackers rustle. You cannot wait to show your friends, to find an empty lot or a stretch of quiet road where you can light them, watch them scream into the sky, feel the percussion of the explosion rattle your chest. This is summer in the 50s. Fireworks are not regulated, they are not controlled. They are sold to anyone with enough coins in their pocket and a willingness to risk their fingers. Kids stockpile them for weeks, trading them like currency, hoarding the best ones for the 4th of July when the entire neighbourhood will gather to watch the sky light up in amateur pyrotechnic glory. You know the dangers, vaguely. You've heard stories about kids losing fingers, about burns, about fires started accidentally in dry grass. But the stories feel distant, hypothetical, like warnings about quicksand or stranger danger, things that happen to other people in other places. You are careful, you are smart, you will be fine. And most of the time, you are. Most of the time, the cherry bombs explode exactly as intended, loud and thrilling, and leaving nothing but a scorch mark on the pavement. Most of the time, the bottle rockets arc beautifully into the sky, trailing sparks and wonder. Most of the time, childhood in the 50s is a series of small dangers navigated successfully, a constant negotiation between freedom and consequence that somehow, miraculously, most kids survive. Summer evenings bring the hum of the DDT truck rolling slowly through the neighbourhood, trailing thick white clouds of pesticide fog. The chemical mist drifts across lawns, sidewalks and porches. Children do not run inside. They run toward it, laughing and shrieking as they chase the fog, their skin cooling in the strange, sweet-smelling haze. You hear it before you see it, the low rumble of the engine, the mechanical hiss of the sprayer. Someone shouts, "The truck is coming!" and every kid on the block drops whatever they were doing and runs toward the sound. You race down the sidewalk, bare feet slapping against warm concrete, until you see it turning the corner, moving at a crawl, white fog billowing behind it like a slow-motion explosion. The fog is thick, almost solid-looking, rolling and tumbling as it spreads. It smells sweet and chemical, like nothing else you have ever encountered, not quite floral, not quite metallic, but something in between that sticks in your nose and coats your tongue. You do not care. You run straight into it, arms outstretched, spinning in circles as the mist wraps around you. It is cool against your sun-warmed skin, a relief after a long day of heat. You close your eyes and let it settle on your face, your arms, your legs. Other kids are doing the same, darting in and out of the fog, chasing each other, playing tag in the strange twilight the mist creates. The truck crawls past, the driver barely visible through the windshield, and the fog keeps coming, thick and endless. Your mother watches from the porch, not alarmed, just observing. She does not call you inside, she does not warn you to stay away. The truck is here to kill mosquitoes, to make the summer evenings more bearable, to protect the neighbourhood from the insects that swarm at dusk. The DDT is a gift, a public service, something the city provides to make life better. That is what everyone believes. You follow the truck down the block, running through fog so thick you lose sight of your friends. You hear their laughter, disembodied and strange, echoing through the mist. You stumble over a curb, catch yourself, keep running. The truck turns the corner and the fog begins to thin, dissipating into the evening air, settling onto lawns and gardens and playgrounds. When it is over, you're damp and breathless, your skin slick with a faint chemical residue. You wipe your face with the back of your hand and taste something faintly bitter. You do not think much of it. You head home as the streetlights flicker on, calling goodnight to your friends, already thinking about tomorrow, about what you will do, where you will play. The DDT sinks into the grass. It settles into the soil. It clings to your skin, your clothes, your hair. It drifts through open windows into homes where families are sitting down to dinner. Nobody knows yet that it is poison. Nobody knows that decades from now it will be banned, condemned, recognised as one of the great environmental mistakes of the 20th century. Right now, it is just the mosquito truck, a summertime ritual, a strange and thrilling fog that children play in without fear, without understanding, without anyone telling them to stop. You stand at the edge of the road, thumb out, waiting. Cars pass, slow, stop. A stranger leans over and pushes the passenger door open. "Where you headed?" he asks. You tell him. "Hop in," he says. And just like that, you're riding with someone whose name you will never know, trusting that the world is generally safe and people are generally kind. The sun is hot on your back as you wait, your arm extended, thumb pointing hopefully toward town. You're not worried. You're not afraid. Hitchhiking is what people do when they need to get somewhere and do not have a car. It is practical. It is common. It is woven into the fabric of how people move through the world in 1955. A sedan slows, pulling onto the shoulder a few yards ahead. Dust kicks up from the tyres. You jog toward it, already smiling, already grateful. The driver is middle-aged, wearing a work shirt and a friendly expression. He reaches across and pops the lock. The door swings open. You slide into the passenger seat, the vinyl warm beneath you. The car smells like coffee and motor oil. "Thanks for stopping," you say. "No problem," he replies, already pulling back onto the road. "Going far?" You tell him where you need to be. He nods. "I can get you most of the way there." You settle in, watching the landscape roll past through the window. Fields, farmhouses, a barn with faded paint. The radio plays softly, a crooner's voice, drifting through the static. The driver makes small talk, asks where you're from, what you do. The questions are casual, polite, the kind of conversation that fills the space between strangers sharing a brief moment of proximity. You answer easily, unguarded. It does not occur to you to be cautious. It does not occur to you that this person could be anyone, could want anything, could take you anywhere. Because in your experience, in the experience of almost everyone you know, hitchhiking is safe. Drivers are neighbours, fellow travellers, decent people doing a small kindness. You have hitchhiked before. Your friends hitchhike. Your older sister hitchhiked to the next town last week and made it home just fine. This is simply how you get around when you do not have a car, when the bus does not run, when your destination is too far to walk. The driver lets you off at the crossroads, just where he said he would. You thank him again. He waves, pulls back onto the highway, disappears into the distance. You hitch another ride within 5 minutes. This time it is a farmer in a pickup, the bed loaded with hay bales. He talks about the weather, about his crops, about how dry it has been. You listen, nod, watch the world pass. By the time you reach your destination, you have ridden with 3 different strangers. You have trusted each of them completely, and each of them has delivered you safely, without incident, without expectation, simply because you needed help, and they were able to provide it. This is the world you live in, a world where trust is the default, where strangers are assumed to be good until proven otherwise, where a young person can stand on the side of the road, thumb out, and expect kindness rather than danger. It will not last. The world will change. But right now, in the summer heat, with dust rising from the road and cars slowing to offer rides, it feels like the most natural thing in the world. Your mother hands you a note and a $1 bill. Run down to the corner store and pick up a pack of Luckies, she says. You're 9 years old. You walk the 3 blocks, push open the door and hand the note to the clerk. He reads it, nods, and slides the cigarettes across the counter without hesitation. The bell above the door jingles as you enter. The store smells like floor wax and penny candy. the scent so familiar it feels like comfort. The clerk looks up from his newspaper, recognizes you, nods in greeting. You are a regular here, sent on errands by your mother at least twice a week. Milk, bread, eggs, and sometimes cigarettes. You walk to the counter, the note folded in your hand, the dollar bill slightly damp from your grip. You slide both across the counter. The clerk unfolds the note, his eyes scanning your mother's handwriting. "One pack Lucky Strike," it says, written in her careful cursive. He grunts in acknowledgement, turns to the shelf behind him where cartons and packs are stacked in neat rows. He pulls down a pack, the cellophane crinkling as he sets it on the counter. "Anything else?" he asks. You shake your head. He rings it up on the cash register, the keys clacking, the drawer springing open with a cheerful ding. He makes change, counts it into your palm. You slide the cigarettes into your pocket, the pack rectangular and solid against your hip. As you leave, you pass another kid coming in, a boy from your class. He's holding a note too, heading toward the counter with the same errand. You nod at each other, a silent acknowledgement of shared responsibility. This is normal. This is what kids do. You run errands. You help your parents. You're trusted with small tasks that make you feel capable, needed, grown up. The walk home is quick. You swing the change in your hand, letting the coins clink together. Your mother is in the kitchen when you return, elbow deep in dishwater. She dries her hands on her apron, takes the cigarettes, opens the pack, and taps one out. She lights it with a match from the stove, inhaling deeply, exhaling a thin stream of smoke toward the ceiling. "Thank you, sweetheart," she says. You hand her the change. She slips it into her apron pocket without counting. You have done this errand so many times that it has become routine, unremarkable, a transaction as ordinary as fetching the mail. The clerk knows you. Your mother trusts you. The cigarettes are just one more item on the shopping list, no different from butter or laundry soap. Nobody questions it. Nobody wonders if a 9-year-old should be buying tobacco. The laws that will eventually make this illegal do not exist yet. The awareness that cigarettes are addictive, that they kill, is still forming slowly in the background, ignored by an industry that markets them as sophisticated, healthy, doctor-recommended. Right now, they're just cigarettes, and you're just a child running an errand, trusted to walk to the store, trusted to carry money, trusted to bring back what your mother needs. It is a small responsibility, a simple task, and it makes you feel just a little bit older, a little bit more capable, a little bit more like someone your parents can count on. Recess means the playground, and the playground means tall metal structures baking under the sun. The swings hang from chains thick enough to moor a boat. The slide is a sheet of scorching steel. The merry-go-round spins fast enough to fling kids off like rag dolls. And beneath it all, no soft rubber matting, no wood chips, just hard, unforgiving concrete. You burst through the school doors at recess, released like a pressure valve, sprinting toward the playground with dozens of other kids. The sun is high and brutal, heating every metal surface until it shimmers. You head straight for the swings, your favourite, claiming one before they're all taken. The chains are hot to the touch, but you grip them anyway, the heat sinking into your palms as you pump your legs, building momentum. This swing carries you higher and higher, your stomach dropping with each arc. At the peak you can see over the schoolyard fence into the street beyond, into the world that waits for you when the bell rings. Then gravity pulls you back, the chain jerking slightly as you plummet toward the ground. Beneath you, the concrete rushes past, grey and solid and utterly indifferent to whether you land on your feet or your face. When you jump, and you always jump, you try to time it perfectly. Too early, and you do not get enough distance. Too late and you land wrong, ankles twisting, knees buckling. But when you get it right, when you launch yourself at the perfect moment, You soar, you fly, you hit the concrete running, stumbling forward, arms windmilling for balance, and then you're upright, triumphant, laughing. The slide is worse. The metal is so hot it burns through your clothes. You climb the ladder quickly, your hands sweating, your heart pounding. At the top you pause, looking down the long slope, knowing it is going to hurt. Then you push off. The heat sears your legs as you slide, friction building, speed increasing. You hit the bottom hard, the momentum carrying you off the end and onto the concrete. You land in a crouch, your palms stinging, your knees scraped. The merry-go-round is the most dangerous. It is a flat metal platform with bars radiating from the centre. Kids grab the bars and run, pushing the platform faster and faster until it becomes a blur. Then they jump on, gripping the bars, their bodies flung outward by centrifugal force. Some kids lose their grip. Some slide off, tumbling onto the concrete, rolling to a stop in a tangle of limbs and scraped elbows. You hold on as long as you can, the world spinning, the bars slick with sweat, your arms burning with effort. When you finally let go, either by choice or by accident, you fly. For a brief, terrifying moment, you are weightless. Then you hit the ground, hard, the concrete knocking the wind from your lungs. You lie there, gasping, staring up at the sky, waiting for your breath to return. Someone asks if you're okay. You nod, roll onto your side, push yourself upright. Your palms are scraped raw. Your knees are bleeding. Your hip throbs where it connected with the ground. But you are fine. You are always fine. This is just recess. This is just the playground. This is just what happens when you play hard on equipment designed without safety in mind, installed over a surface that does not forgive mistakes. You brush yourself off and head back to the swings. The bell is not rung yet. There is still time to play, to fly, to fall, to get back up and do it all over again. The game is simple. You stand on opposite ends of the yard, take turns lobbing heavy, sharp-tipped darts into the air, aiming for plastic rings laid out on the grass. The darts arc high, spinning slowly before plunging down with enough force to stick deep into the ground. Sometimes they stick into other things. Nobody thinks much about it. The lawn. Darts are stored in the garage, in a canvas bag that smells like mildew and old grass clippings. You carry them into the backyard. 4 darts, 2 yellow and 2 red, their tips gleaming in the sunlight. They're heavier than they look, weighted metal points designed to plunge deep into the earth when thrown correctly. You can feel the danger in them, the potential, but it only makes the game more exciting. You and your brother set up the rings, 2 plastic circles about 30 feet apart. He takes the yellow darts, you take the red. The rules are simple. Toss your dart underhand, aiming for the opposite ring. Points are scored for landing inside the ring, with bonus points for sticking the dart upright. The first person to 21 wins. You go first, gripping the dart by its plastic fins, feeling the weight pull toward the ground. You step forward and throw, releasing the dart in a high arc. It tumbles through the air, spinning lazily, then plummets. It stabs into the grass a foot from the ring, vibrating slightly from the impact. Your brother laughs, retrieves it, carries it back to his side. His throw is better. The dart flies straight and true, landing inside the ring with a satisfying thunk. He grins, pumping his fist. You retrieve both darts, carrying them carefully, conscious of their sharp tips, and hand him his. The game continues, back and forth. The darts fly through the summer air, arcing and falling, sticking into the ground with dull thuds. Sometimes a throw goes wild, sailing over the fence into the neighbour's yard. Sometimes a dart lands dangerously close to one of you, close enough that you have to step back quickly, heart racing. Once your brother's dart lands 2 inches from your foot, You both freeze, staring at it, the metal tip buried in the grass, the fins still quivering. Then you laugh, nervous and exhilarated, because almost getting hurt is part of the thrill. You pull the dart free, the resistance of the earth giving way slowly, and toss it back to him. Your mother calls from the kitchen window. "Be careful with those things." "We are," you shout back, and you mean it. You are being careful. You're paying attention. You're watching where the darts land, where your brother is standing, where your little sister is playing on the other side of the yard. But careful is relative. Careful means not throwing directly at each other, not standing in the landing zone, not doing anything obviously reckless. It does not mean considering that maybe, just maybe, lobbing weighted metal spears through the air is inherently dangerous. The game ends when you reach 21 points. Your brother wins as usual. You gather the darts, sliding them back into the canvas bag, and carry them to the garage. Tomorrow you will play again, and the day after that. All summer long, you and every other kid in the neighborhood will throw lawn darts, tempting fate, trusting luck, never quite understanding how close you are to disaster until years later when they are banned, when the stories emerge of children blinded, of skulls pierced, of lives changed in an instant by a game that seemed so harmless in the backyard sunshine. Every kid in the neighborhood has a bike, and every bike is ridden hard. Down hills, over curbs, through gravel, along busy streets. Hair flies back in the wind. Faces flush with speed and freedom. Helmets do not exist in this world, or if they do, they are considered unnecessary, embarrassing, the kind of thing only overly cautious mothers might suggest. Your bike is a hand-me-down from your older cousin. Blue paint chipped and faded, the seat cracked and patched with electrical tape. The chain clicks rhythmically as you pedal, a sound so familiar it becomes the soundtrack of summer. You ride it everywhere, to school, to your friend's house, to the store for errands, to nowhere in particular, just riding for the sake of movement, for the feeling of air rushing past, for the independence that comes from going wherever you want under your own power. The neighborhood kids gather in the street most afternoons, comparing bikes, planning routes, daring each other to attempt increasingly dangerous stunts. Tommy swears he can jump the curb at the corner without slowing down. Sarah claims she rode all the way to the highway and back. You listen, nodding, already thinking about what you will try next. The hill on Maple Street is the ultimate test. It is steep enough that you gain serious speed, long enough that the thrill lasts, and busy enough at the bottom that timing matters. You pedal hard to build momentum at the top, then coast, lifting your feet from the pedals, letting gravity do the work. The bike picks up speed. The wind roars in your ears. Your eyes water from the rush of air. Your hair whips wildly behind you. Faster, faster. The handlebars vibrate in your grip. The front wheel wobbles slightly. You lean into it, making micro-adjustments, trusting balance and instinct. At the bottom, a car approaches from the left. You do not slow down. You calculate, judge, commit. You shoot across the intersection just ahead of the car, heart pounding, adrenaline singing through your veins. Behind you, brakes squeal. Someone shouts. You do not look back. You keep pedaling, laughing, alive. There are crashes, of course. Everyone crashes. You hit a patch of loose gravel, and the bike slides out from under you, sending you tumbling across the pavement. Your palms shred against the asphalt. Your knee splits open. Your elbow throbs. You lie there for a moment, inventory the damage, then stand up, brush yourself off, and check your bike. The handlebar is bent. You straighten it as best you can and keep riding. Your mother sees the blood when you get home. She cleans the wounds with iodine that burns like fire, wraps your knee in gauze, and tells you to be more careful. She does not mention helmets. She does not suggest you stop riding. She knows that bikes mean freedom, and freedom means risk, and risk is just part of growing up in 1955. You ride until the streetlights come on, until your legs ache, until you can barely pedal another rotation. You ride through neighbourhoods, along railroad tracks, down dirt paths that lead to the creek. You ride alone and with friends, racing, exploring, testing the limits of how far you can go and how fast you can get there. Your bike is not just transportation. It is autonomy. It is adventure. It is the tool that transforms your small, familiar world into something vast and conquerable. And you ride it without a helmet, without knee pads, without anything but confidence and momentum, because that is simply how it is done. Nap time arrives, and your mother wheels the baby carriage out onto the front porch. She tucks a blanket around the sleeping infant, adjusts the shade, and leaves the baby there, alone, in the fresh air. Neighbours pass by, glance at the carriage, smile, and keep walking. This is normal. This is what people do. The carriage is a massive contraption of metal and fabric, built like a small vehicle, sturdy enough to withstand weather and time. Your mother positions it carefully in the shaded corner of the porch, angled so the afternoon sun will not reach it, close enough to the house that she can hear if the baby wakes and cries. She checks the blanket one more time, smooths it across the baby's chest, then goes back inside. Through the screen door, she can hear the faint sounds of the neighbourhood, Mrs. Patterson sweeping her walkway, the mailman making his rounds, children playing somewhere down the block. The baby sleeps through it all, tiny chest rising and falling in peaceful rhythm, completely unaware that this practice, this ordinary moment, will one day seem unthinkable. The fresh air is considered essential. Doctors recommend it. Parenting manuals insist on it. Babies need ventilation, sunlight filtered through porch shade, the gentle sounds of the world to lull them into deep restorative sleep. Indoor air is stale, they say. Indoor air breeds sickness. So out onto the porch the babies go, bundled and content, left to nap in the open while their mothers tend to laundry, dishes, the endless tasks of keeping a household running. Your mother moves through her chores, glancing occasionally through the window to check on the carriage. She's not worried. She's not anxious. The baby is safe. The porch is enclosed. The neighbourhood is trustworthy. Crime is something that happens in cities, in rough areas, not here in quiet suburban streets where everyone knows everyone and children play unsupervised until dusk. A neighbour walks by, slowing as she passes the porch. She peeks into the carriage, smiles at the sleeping baby and continues on. She does not knock. She does not alert your mother. She simply acknowledges the baby the way one might acknowledge a well-tended garden, a pleasant part of the landscape, a sign that all is well. Another hour passes. The baby stirs, makes a small sound, then settles again. Your mother hears it, pauses in her work, listens. The sound does not repeat. She returns to folding laundry, humming softly to herself. The rhythm of the day continues, calm and predictable. When the baby finally wakes, crying in earnest, your mother wipes her hands on her apron and steps outside. She lifts the baby from the carriage, feels the warmth of the small body against her chest, checks the diaper, and carries the baby inside for feeding. The carriage remains on the porch, empty now, waiting for tomorrow's nap. This is childcare in the 50s. Babies sleep outside because fresh air is good for them. They sleep alone because constant supervision is considered unnecessary, even unhealthy, a sign of neurotic overprotectiveness. Mothers are told to establish independence early, to let their children experience the world without hovering, so the babies nap on porches, in backyards, in carriages left beside open windows. And almost always, they are fine. Almost always they wake refreshed and healthy, benefiting from the very practices that modern parents would consider neglectful. dangerous, incomprehensible. The world is different now, but in 1955 a baby sleeping alone on the front porch is not a crisis. It is just Tuesday afternoon. Morning comes, and you're sent outside with one simple instruction. Be home when the streetlights come on. That is it. No check-ins, no scheduled activities, no phones to track your location. You and the other kids wander through backyards, empty lots, construction sites, woods. You build forts. You explore. You disappear into the world and come back when the sky turns orange. The screen door slams behind you at 8 in the morning. Your mother does not ask where you're going. You do not tell her. The expectation is simply that you will be somewhere, doing something, and that you will return intact. You grab your bike or you do not. You meet up with friends or you wander alone. The day is yours. By 9 you have gathered with the usual group: Tommy, Sarah, the Miller twins, Bobby from the next street over. You congregate in the vacant lot at the end of the block, the one filled with tall grass and rusted junk and the remnants of a foundation from a house that never got built. This is your territory, your kingdom. Someone suggests building a fort. Everyone agrees. You scatter, searching for materials. Wooden pallets from behind the grocery store, sheets of corrugated metal from the construction site 2 blocks over, rope, nails, a tarp someone's father was throwing away. You drag it all back to the lot, sweating in the morning heat, already filthy. The fort takes hours. You argue about design, about structural integrity, about whose idea is better. You hammer nails with rocks because nobody thought to bring an actual hammer. You cut your hand on a sharp edge of metal and wrap it in your shirt until the bleeding stops. By noon, the fort is standing, lopsided and precarious but standing. You eat lunch inside it, sandwiches pulled from paper bags, warm and slightly squashed. You talk about important things, whether you could survive in the woods, what you would do if you found buried treasure. Who would win in a fight between a bear and a lion? The conversation meanders, unhurried, punctuated by comfortable silences. In the afternoon, you leave the fort and head toward the creek. The path is overgrown, winding through a small patch of woods that feels vast and wild when you're young. You balance on fallen logs. You throw rocks into the water. You catch tadpoles in old jars, watching them wriggle, then pour them back. Tommy dares you to swing from the rope someone tied to the oak tree. The rope hangs over a drop-off, a 6-foot fall to the creek below. You grab it, back up as far as you can, and run. The rope goes taut. You swing out over the water, the world blurring, your stomach lifting. At the peak of the arc, you let go. You fall. You hit the water with a cold, shocking splash. You surface, gasping and laughing. The others cheer. One by one, they take their turn, swinging and falling, shrieking and soaking. Nobody supervises, nobody intervenes. You regulate yourselves, establishing rules through trial and error, learning consequences firsthand. Evening arrives slowly. The light shifts from harsh white to soft gold. You wander back through the neighbourhood, tired and happy, your clothes damp and dirty, your hair tangled. The streetlights flicker on, one by one, casting pools of yellow light onto the pavement. You head home. The screen door opens. Your mother glances up from the stove. You are filthy. Dinner is almost ready. Wash up, you do. You sit at the table, ravenous, and eat without speaking. Nobody asks where you were. Nobody needs to. This is childhood in the 50s. Unsupervised, unstructured, untracked, free. You walk into the pharmacy with a headache that will not quit, or a cough that rattles your chest, or a rash spreading across your arm. You describe your symptoms to the pharmacist. He listens, nods thoughtfully, and reaches behind the counter. He hands you a bottle. "Try this," he says. No prescription required, no questions asked. The pharmacy is on the corner, a small shop with a black and white checkerboard floor and wooden shelves stocked with remedies. A bell jingles as you enter. The air smells like rubbing alcohol and peppermint. The pharmacist stands behind the counter, white coat crisp, reading glasses perched on his nose. He looks up as you approach. "What seems to be the trouble?" he asks. You tell him. "Your throat has been sore for 3 days. Swallowing hurts. Your voice is hoarse." He nods, already reaching for a bottle on the shelf behind him. He sets it on the counter, a small glass bottle filled with dark syrup. "This should help," he says. "Take a spoonful 3 times a day. If it does not clear up in a week, come back. You pay. Him." He does not ask if you have seen a doctor. He does not require any paperwork. He simply hands you the bottle, confident in his recommendation, confident that you are capable of following directions. You slip the bottle into your pocket and leave. At home, you unscrew the cap and pour a spoonful of syrup. It is thick and bitter, coating your tongue, burning slightly as it slides down your throat. You grimace but swallow. By the next day, your throat feels better. By the end of the week, the soreness is gone. The pharmacist was right. This transaction, so simple and direct, is how medicine works in the 50s. Pharmacists are trusted advisors, quasi-doctors who diagnose and dispense without the formality of prescriptions. They know their customers. They know common ailments. They know which remedies work. Aspirin, cough syrup, ointments for rashes, eye drops, sleeping powders, all of it available over the counter, no questions asked. Some of the medicines contain ingredients that will later be restricted or banned. Codeine, barbiturates, amphetamines. But right now, they are just medicine, sold freely to anyone who needs them. Your mother sends you to the pharmacy for her headache pills. The pharmacist hands you a bottle without hesitation. Your father buys a tonic for his back pain, something with a label that promises relief and lists ingredients you cannot pronounce. Your grandmother takes a powder for her nerves, dissolved in water each evening before bed. Nobody worries about addiction. Nobody questions the pharmacist's authority. Nobody considers that self-medication might be dangerous. The system works on trust, on the assumption that people are responsible, that pharmacists are knowledgeable, that modern medicine has solved most problems and the rest can be managed with a bottle from the shelf. You return to the pharmacy many times over the years, for colds, for cuts that need bandaging, for stomach troubles. Each time the pharmacist listens, recommends, dispenses. Each time you walk out with exactly what you need, no prescription required. It is convenient, it is efficient, it is a relationship built on familiarity and trust. And it works, mostly until the regulations change, until the government steps in, until prescriptions become mandatory and pharmacists become gatekeepers rather than advisors. But for now, in 1955, the pharmacy is still a place where you can walk in with a problem and walk out with a solution. Simple and uncomplicated. No barriers between you and relief. The classroom is quiet. Too quiet. Which is how the teacher knows someone has misbehaved. She calls the student to the front of the room. The wooden paddle hangs on the wall beside the chalkboard, smooth from use. She takes it down. The other students watch in silence. This is discipline. This is normal. This is what happens when you break the rules. You sit at your desk, hands folded, trying to appear invisible. The boy being called, forward is Jimmy, who was caught passing notes during the spelling lesson. He walks slowly, reluctantly, his face pale. The teacher holds the paddle at her side, her expression stern but not angry. This is not personal. This is procedure. "Jimmy," she says quietly, "you know the rules." He nods. "Yes, Mum. Turn around." He does. The class holds its breath. You can hear the clock ticking on the wall. You can hear someone shift in their seat. The teacher raises the paddle and the crack echoes through the room like a gunshot. Jimmy flinches but does not cry out. Another crack, another, 3 total, then it's over. Return to your seat. Jimmy walks back, his face red, his eyes wet but defiant. He sits carefully, wincing. The teacher hangs the paddle back on the wall and resumes the lesson as if nothing happened. Spelling words, pronunciation. The class repeats after her, voices subdued. This is how discipline works in 1955. Corporal punishment is not controversial, it is standard. It is considered effective, necessary, a deterrent that keeps children in line. Teachers have full authority to administer it. Principals have paddles in their offices. Parents expect it, even request it. Spare the rod, spoil the child. The saying is not just a proverb, it is a philosophy. You've been paddled once. Last year for talking back to the teacher. You remember the walk to the front of the room, the shame of having everyone watch, the sharp sting of the wood against your backside. You remember blinking back tears, determined not to cry, not to give anyone the satisfaction. You remember returning to your seat, sitting gingerly, feeling the heat radiating from the impact. It worked. You never talked back again. Not because you learned respect, but because you learned fear. Fear of the paddle, fear of the humiliation, fear of the pain. Not every teacher uses corporal punishment. Some prefer other methods, writing lines, standing in the corner, losing recess, privileges. But the paddle is always there, hanging on the wall, a constant reminder of what could happen if you step out of line. Parents do not complain. When your mother hears you are paddled, she does not call the school in outrage. She asks what you did to deserve it. When you explain, she nods. Good, she says. Maybe you will think twice next time. The school and home are united in this approach. Misbehavior has consequences, physical consequences. It will be decades before this changes. Before corporal punishment is questioned, restricted, eventually banned in most schools. Before people recognize that hitting children does not teach discipline, it teaches fear. That pain is not an effective teacher, that there are better ways. But in 1955, the paddle hangs on the wall, and every student knows exactly what it means. Saturday means cleaning out the garage, the basement, the shed, old newspapers, broken toys, scraps of wood. Everything gets piled into a metal drum in the backyard. Your father strikes a match, drops it in, and the fire catches. Smoke rises thick and dark, drifting across the neighborhood. Nobody complains. Everyone is doing the same thing. The burn barrel stands in the far corner of the yard, a 50-gallon drum with the top cut off, rusted and dented from years of use. It is a permanent fixture, as much a part of the yard as the clothesline or the tool shed. On Saturdays, it earns its keep. You help carry the trash. Armloads of newspapers, yellowed and brittle, cardboard boxes collapsed flat, broken lawn chairs with torn webbing, a stack of magazines your mother has finally decided to discard, wood scraps from your father's latest project. All of it gets dumped into the barrel, filling it nearly to the top. Your father crumples a few sheets of newspaper, stuffs them into the bottom, and strikes a match. The paper catches immediately, flames licking upward, curling the edges black. He steps back. The fire spreads, consuming the pile, growing hotter and brighter. Soon the entire barrel is ablaze, flames leaping a foot above the rim, heat radiating outward in waves. The smoke is thick and acrid, a mix of burning paper, wood, and plastic. It billows upward, a dark column rising into the clear blue sky, then spreading, drifting across the yard and into the neighbours' yards. You can taste it in the back of your throat, bitter and chemical. Your eyes water. You step back, coughing. Your father stands nearby, hands on his hips, watching the fire with satisfaction. Trash disposal solved. No need to haul it to the dump. No need to pay for collection. Just burn it. Right here. Turn refuse into ash and smoke. Across the fence, your neighbour is doing the same thing. His burn barrel sends up its own column of smoke. Down the block, another fire burns. The entire neighbourhood is hazy with smoke, the air thick and grey. Nobody minds. This is Saturday. This is what people do. You watch the flames, mesmerised by their movement, by the way they consume and transform. A doll with a melted face, a tyre that sends up black, oily smoke, plastic containers that shrink and twist, dripping molten drops into the fire. Everything burns. Everything disappears. The fire burns for hours. Your father adds more trash as the pile settles, keeping the flames fed. By late afternoon, the barrel is full of glowing embers and ash. He lets it burn down, the flames dying to coals, the smoke thinning. By evening, it is just ash, fine and grey, filling the barrel. On Monday, he will dump the ash along the fence line, scattering it across the yard. Some of it will blow away, some will sink into the soil. Nobody thinks about what is in that ash, what chemicals have been released, what toxins have drifted into lungs and settled onto gardens. This is waste management in the 50s. Burn what you can, bury what you cannot. The environmental consequences are unknown, unconsidered. The air quality does not matter. The smoke is just smoke, a minor inconvenience, a small price to pay for the convenience of eliminating trash without leaving your property. You're 10 years old, and the lawnmower in the garage is older than you are. It is heavy. It is loud. The blade spins so fast you can barely see it. Your father shows you how to start it, how to push it in straight lines, how to avoid your feet. Then he goes inside. You mow the lawn alone, sweating under the sun, learning responsibility one stripe of grass at a time. The mower is a real mower, manual, requiring your full body weight to push it forward through thick grass. Or sometimes it is a gas-powered rotary mower, temperamental and dangerous, with a pull cord that takes 3 tries to start. Either way, it is a machine designed for adults, and you're decidedly not an adult. But your father has decided you're old enough, and that is that. He walks you through the process. Check the gas. Prime the engine. Set the choke. Pull the cord hard and fast. The engine sputters, coughs, roars to life. The noise is deafening, a mechanical scream that drowns out everything else. He shows you the throttle, the safety bar you must hold to keep the blade spinning. Then he demonstrates a few passes across the lawn, walking in straight lines, overlapping slightly to avoid missing patches. Your turn, he says, stepping back. You grip the handlebar, feeling the vibration travel up your arms. You push. The mower resists the blade catching in the grass, the wheels fighting you. You lean into it, using your weight, and it lurches forward. You make your first pass across the lawn, wobbling slightly, overcorrecting, leaving a line that is not quite straight. Your father watches from the porch for a few minutes, then goes inside. You are on your own. The work is hard. The sun beats down, sweat drips into your eyes. Your arms ache from gripping the handlebar. Your legs burn from pushing. The mower is loud enough that you cannot hear anything else, just the roar of the engine and the whir of the blade. You focus on the task, straight lines, overlap the previous pass, watch for sticks or rocks that could damage the blade or become projectiles. Keep your feet clear. Your father warned you about the blade. One wrong step and you could lose a toe. You believe him. You're careful. The lawn is not small. It takes an hour, maybe more. You empty the grass catcher twice, dragging the bag to the compost pile, dumping it, fitting it back onto the mower. Your hands blister. Your shirt is soaked through. But you keep going, determined to finish, determined to prove you can do this. When you finally make the last pass, cutting the final strip of grass, you shut off the engine. The silence is sudden and overwhelming. Your ears ring. You stand in the middle of the lawn surveying your work. The lines are not perfect. You missed a few patches, but it is mowed. You did it. Your father comes outside, inspects the lawn, nods. Good job, he says. Put the mower away. You push it back to the garage, muscles trembling, pride swelling in your chest. You're 10 years old and you just mowed the lawn. You operated dangerous machinery. You completed an adult task. You earned your keep. This is childhood in the 50s. Responsibility comes early. Tasks are assigned not because you are ready, but because there is work to be done and you are capable enough. You learn by doing. You learn by risking. You learn by sweating through a summer afternoon, pushing a mower across a lawn, becoming someone your parents can rely on. Summertime means heat, and heat means thirst. You do not go inside for a glass of water. You walk to the side of the house, twist the spigot, and drink directly from the hose. The water is warm at first, tasting faintly of rubber and metal. Then it runs cold and clean. You drink until your stomach aches. Then you spray your friends, your dog, the flowers. The hose is coiled beside the house, green and sun-faded, kinked in, places where it has been bent too sharply. You uncoil it, dragging it across the lawn, and turn the spigot. Water sputters, coughs, then flows. You let it run for a moment, watching the stream splash onto the grass, waiting for the hot water that has been sitting in the hose all day to clear out. The first mouthful is terrible, warm and chemical, tasting like the inside of the hose, like rubber baking in the sun. You spit it onto the grass and wait. The water runs cooler, cooler. Then suddenly, blessedly cold, pulled from deep underground, shocking against your teeth. You drink, tilting your head back, letting the water pour into your mouth, overflow down your chin, soak the front of your shirt. You drink until your belly is tight and sloshing, until you cannot hold another drop. Then you lower the hose and catch your breath. Your friends wander over, drawn by the sound of running water. Someone takes the hose from your hand, drinks deeply, passes it to the next kid. It makes the rounds. Nobody wipes the nozzle. Nobody worries about germs. You share the hose the way you share everything else, casually, without thought. When everyone has drunk their fill, the games begin. Someone kinks the hose, building pressure, then releases it in a sudden spray. Shrieks, laughter. Everyone scatters, then regroups, soaking wet. You grab the hose, aim it at Tommy, drench him from head to toe. He lunges for it. You dodge. The water arcs wild, spraying the fence, the dog, the flowers. The dog barks, chasing the stream, snapping at the water, getting soaked and loving it. You spray the garden, turning the hose on the tomatoes, the roses, everything your mother has planted. The water pools around the roots, muddying the soil. Your mother appears at the back door. "Do not waste water," she calls. "We are watering the garden," you shout back. She shakes her head but does not argue. You're outside. You're occupied. You're not tracking mud through her clean house. That is enough. The hose becomes a snake, a weapon, a source of infinite entertainment. You spray the side of the house, watching the water darken the paint. You fill an old bucket, dump it over your head. You make a river in the driveway, watching the water flow downhill, carrying leaves and bits of gravel. By the time you turn off the spigot, you are soaked through, dripping, your shoes squelching. Your hair is plastered to your head. Your clothes cling to your skin. You are gloriously, perfectly cool. This is summer in the 50s. The hose is communal. The water is free. The joy is simple. You do not think about lead pipes or bacteria or water quality. You just drink, play, and cool off, trusting that the water is safe because it always has been, because everyone drinks from the hose, because this is just what you do when you're young and thirsty and the sun is high. The family car is a wide, boat-like sedan with bench seats front and back. Your parents sit up front. You and your siblings pile into the back. No seat belts, no car seats, no boosters. When the car stops suddenly, you brace yourself with your hands. When it turns, you slide across the vinyl. This is just how riding in a car works. The car is a Chevy, pale blue, with chrome bumpers and fins that make it look like it could take flight. The interior smells like vinyl and your father's aftershave. The seats are wide and slippery, upholstered in material that sticks to your legs in summer and feels like ice in winter. You climb into the back seat, your sister beside you, your baby brother on your mother's lap up front. Nobody buckles in because there is nothing to buckle. Seat belts exist in the front seats, but they are tucked away, rarely used, considered uncomfortable and unnecessary. In the back there are no belts at all, just a wide bench seat and the expectation that you will sit reasonably still. Your father starts the engine. The car rumbles to life. He backs out of the driveway, one hand on the wheel, the other draped over the seat, looking over his shoulder. The car rolls into the street. You settle into your spot, legs stretched out, watching the neighbourhood slide past through the window. The ride is smooth at first. Quiet streets, gentle turns. You and your sister play a game, counting red cars, arguing about whether maroon counts as red. Your brother babbles on your mother's lap, grabbing at her necklace, happy and oblivious. Then your father merges onto the highway. The engine roars. The car accelerates. You feel the speed press you back against the seat. The landscape blurs. Other cars zoom past, close enough that you could reach out and touch them if the window were open. Your father brakes suddenly. A car is cut in front of him. You pitch forward, hands shooting out to catch yourself against the back of the front seat. Your sister slides into you. You both laugh, righting yourselves, bracing for the next stop. This is normal, this is expected. You learn to anticipate, to brace, to hold on. When your father takes a sharp turn, you slide across the vinyl, your sister sliding with you, both of you tumbling into a pile against the door. You push yourselves upright, giggling, your mother glancing back with a smile. "Be careful back there," she says, but there is no real concern in her voice. Your baby brother is on her lap, facing forward, tiny hands pressed against the dashboard. If your father stopped suddenly, really suddenly, the baby would fly forward. But nobody thinks about this. Nobody imagines it. The car is safe because it is solid, because it is metal, because your father is a good driver. You arrive at your destination, tumbling out of the back seat, legs stiff, slightly dizzy. The journey is over. You are intact. This is how it always goes. Car seats do not exist in your world. Boosters are unheard of. The idea that children need special restraints, special protection, is not yet part of the cultural consciousness. Children ride in cars the same way adults do, sitting on seats, holding on when necessary, trusting that nothing bad will happen. And most of the time, nothing does. Most of the time, you arrive safely. But the statistics tell a different story, one of children thrown through windshields, children crushed in collisions, children who could have been saved by the simple invention of a car seat, a seat belt, a recognition that small bodies are fragile and speed is deadly. But that awareness is still years away. Right now, you are just a kid in the back of a car, sliding across vinyl, laughing with your sister, heading somewhere that feels important and safe simply because your father is driving and your mother is beside him, and the world outside is bright and full of possibility. Your neighbour has a monkey. Another family down the street keeps a raccoon in a cage in the backyard. Someone else has a baby alligator living in a kiddie pool. Nobody asks for permits. Nobody checks if these animals should be kept as pets. If you can catch it, feed it, and keep it alive, it is yours. The monkey belongs to Mr. Patterson 2 houses down. It is small, with grey fur and quick, intelligent eyes. Mr. Patterson bought it from a roadside zoo on a trip south, brought it home in a crate, and now it lives in a cage in his garage. On warm days he brings it outside, letting it sit on his shoulder or climb the fence. Children gather to watch, fascinated and slightly afraid. The monkey chatters, baring tiny teeth, reaching out to grab at anything shiny. It stole Mrs. Henderson's bracelet once, clutching it in its tiny hands, refusing to give it back until Mr. Patterson bribed it with a banana. Everyone laughed. The monkey became a neighbourhood legend. Down the street the millers keep a raccoon. They found it as a baby, abandoned or orphaned, and raised it in a box in the kitchen. Now it lives in a large cage in the backyard, fat and lazy, its paws reaching through the bars to grab at whatever you offer. The kids feed it scraps, watching it wash its food in a water dish, its movements oddly human. The raccoon bites sometimes. Not hard, but enough to draw blood, enough to remind you that it is wild, that domestication is a thin veneer over instinct. The millers do not seem concerned. They bandage the bites and keep feeding it. The alligator is the most exotic. It belongs to a high school boy who keeps it in a kiddie pool in his parents' backyard. It is only a foot long now, small enough to seem harmless, but it is growing. The boy feeds it hot dogs and goldfish, proud of his dangerous pet, showing it off to anyone who will look. Nobody asks what will happen when it gets bigger. Nobody wonders if it is legal. The boy insists he will build a pond eventually, that he has everything under control. His parents seem unconcerned. It is just a pet. An unusual one, but a pet nonetheless. Exotic animals are everywhere in the 50s. Mail-order catalogues advertise monkeys, parrots, reptiles, all available for purchase, no questions asked. People buy them on impulse, drawn by novelty, by the thrill of owning something wild and unusual. There are no regulations, no permits required, no home inspections, no consideration of whether these animals belong in captivity, whether they can be properly cared for, whether they pose a danger. The exotic pet trade thrives, unregulated and unchallenged. Some of the animals thrive, some suffer, some escape, becoming invasive species, disrupting ecosystems. Some attack their owners, some simply die, victims of neglect or ignorance. But in your neighbourhood, in the summer of 1955, the monkey chatters on Mr. Patterson's shoulder, the raccoon washes its food in its cage, and the alligator basks in its kiddie pool. And nobody sees a problem. Nobody calls authorities. Nobody questions whether this is right, whether this is safe, whether these animals deserve better. They're just pets, exotic, unusual, slightly dangerous, but pets. Nonetheless, you're 12, maybe 13, and you have a job. Not a lemonade stand, not chores for allowance, a real job. You deliver papers before school, you bag groceries at the market, you pump gas at the filling station, you work after school and on weekends, earning real money, learning what it means to be tired, to be responsible, to be needed. The alarm clock rings at 5 in the morning, a shrill bell that jolts you from sleep. You fumble for it in the darkness, slap it silent, and lie there for a moment, eyes closed, wishing you could stay in bed. But you cannot. The papers are waiting. You dress quickly in the cold, pulling on jeans and a jacket, your fingers clumsy with sleep. Downstairs the house is silent. Your parents are still asleep. You grab a piece of bread, eat it dry because making toast takes too long, and head outside into the pre-dawn darkness. Your bike leans against the garage, the canvas bag already loaded with newspapers. The route manager dropped them, off an hour ago, bundled with twine, smelling of ink and damp paper. You heave the bag over your shoulder, the weight settling against your spine, and swing your leg over the bike. The neighbourhood is dark and quiet, streetlights casting pools of yellow onto empty sidewalks. You ride slowly, the bag throwing off your balance, stopping at each house on your route. You know them all by heart. The Johnsons, the Parkers, Mrs. Chen, the young couple with the new baby. You roll the paper tight, aim for the porch, throw. Sometimes you hit the welcome mat perfectly. Sometimes the paper lands in the bushes. You do not stop to fix it. There is no time. The work is cold, repetitive, lonely. Your breath comes out in clouds. Your fingers go numb. The bag gets lighter as you move through the route, but your shoulders ache from the weight, from the throwing, from the 6 days a week. You've been doing this for 3 months now. You finish just as the sky begins to lighten, a pale grey creeping over the horizon. You pedal home, the empty bag flapping against your back. Inside, you count your tips, coins, and occasional dollar bills left in envelopes by customers who appreciate that their paper arrives dry and on time. The money goes into a coffee can in your closet. Savings. For what, you're not entirely sure, but it feels important to have it. After school, there is the grocery store. You clock in at 4, tie on an apron, and take your place at the end of the checkout lane. The job is simple. Bag the groceries, paper or plastic. Cans on the bottom, bread on top. Eggs handled carefully. You work quickly, efficiently, learning to read customers, to anticipate what they need. Some customers are kind, thanking you, slipping you a quarter. Some ignore you entirely, treating you like part of the machinery. Some are impatient, snapping at you to hurry, to be careful, to do your job better. You smile through it all. You're polite, you're professional, you're 12 years old and already learning that work is not always fair, not always kind, but always necessary. At the gas station on weekends, you pump fuel, check oil, wash windshields. The owner is a gruff man who pays in cash, who expects you to show up on time and work without complaining. You do. You stand in the heat, in the cold, in the rain, serving customers who pull up, hand you money, and drive away without a word. The work teaches you things school never could. The value of money, the weight of responsibility, the exhaustion that comes from real labour, the quiet pride of earning your own way. Your parents are proud. They tell relatives that you're working, that you're saving, that you're growing up. Your friends envy you, envy the money, the independence. But they do not see the early mornings, the aching shoulders, the way you fall asleep during homework because you have been up since 5. This is childhood in the 50s. Work comes early. Jobs are available to anyone willing to take them. Age restrictions are loose, unenforced, sometimes non-existent. You're useful. You are needed. And that need transforms you from child to something else. Something harder. Something older than your years. Summer heat drives everyone toward water. Any water. The public pool is crowded and costs money. So you and your friends head to the canal, the reservoir, the abandoned quarry. The water is murky. The bottom is invisible. Nobody knows how deep it goes. You jump in anyway, shrieking as the cold wraps around you, trusting luck and instinct to bring you back to the surface. The quarry is a mile outside town, past the railroad tracks, through a stretch of scrubby woods. It has been abandoned for a decade, maybe longer. The stone company that once operated here long gone. What remains is a massive pit carved into the earth, steep rock walls dropping into water so deep it looks black. You make the walk in a loose pack, towels slung over shoulders, the sun already brutal at 10 in the morning. Nobody asked permission. Nobody told their parents where they were going. You just left, called out that you would be back later and headed out. The path to the quarry is worn smooth by years of feet, a thin trail winding through the trees. You can hear the place before you see it, the sound of voices echoing off stone, the distant splash of someone jumping. Then the trees open up and there it is, a vast hole filled with water, Kids clustered along the edges, some swimming, some perched on the rocks. You drop your towel and approach the edge. The water is 30 feet below, maybe more, dark and still. You cannot see the bottom. You cannot see anything beneath the surface. But others are jumping, surfacing, swimming to the edge and climbing out to jump again. If they can do it, so can you. You back up, take a running start and leap. For a moment you are airborne, weightless, the world spinning. Then you hit the water and it swallows you whole. The cold is shocking, stealing, your breath wrapping around you like ice. You plunge deep, deeper, your momentum carrying you down into darkness. Panic flickers. You cannot see. You do not know which way is up. Then instinct takes over. You kick, hard, following the pull of your body toward the surface. You break through, gasping, treading water, your heart hammering. Around you, other kids are swimming, laughing, diving under and resurfacing. Nobody is supervising. There are no lifeguards, no adults, just kids, water, and the shared understanding that you are responsible for yourself. The quarry is dangerous in ways nobody talks about. The depth is unknown. The rocks below the surface are invisible. Currents shift unpredictably. Kids have drowned here. Everyone knows the stories. A boy last summer who went under and did not come up. A girl the year before who hit her head on a submerged rock. But the stories do not stop anyone. They are just stories, tragedies that happen to other people, cautionary tales that fade in the face of summer heat and the irresistible pull of cold water. You swim to the edge, haul yourself onto the rocks, your muscles shaking from cold and effort. Water streams from your hair, your clothes. You lie on the warm stone, letting the sun bake you dry. Around you, others are doing the same, sprawled on the rocks like lizards. Someone dares you to jump from the high ledge, a rocky outcrop 20 feet higher than where you jumped before. You climb up carefully, your bare feet finding purchase on the rough stone. At the top you look down. The water looks impossibly far away, but everyone is watching. You cannot back down. You jump. The fall is longer, faster, more terrifying. You hit the water hard, the impact slapping your skin, driving the air from your lungs. You sink deep, ears popping from the pressure, and kick frantically toward the light. When you surface, gasping and laughing, the others cheer. You swim to the edge, triumphant. You did it. You survived. The afternoon stretches on, swimming, jumping, lying in the sun. Nobody keeps track of time. Nobody worries about skin cancer or waterborne illness, or the legal liability of swimming in an abandoned quarry. You are just kids, doing what kids do, seeking relief from the heat in the only free accessible water you can find. When you finally walk home, exhausted and sunburned, your hair still damp, your mother asks if you had fun. You say yes. She does not ask where you went. She does not need to. Summer means water, water means swimming, and swimming means whatever pond, canal or quarry you can find. The motorcycle gleams in the driveway, chrome catching the afternoon sun. You climb on behind your older brother, wrapping your arms around his waist. He kicks the engine to life. The roar vibrates through your chest. He pulls onto the street, twists the throttle, and suddenly you are flying. Wind screaming past your ears, nothing between you and the pavement but speed and balance. The bike is a Triumph, black and chrome, heavy and powerful. Your brother saved for 2 years to buy it, working at the garage, skipping movies and dates, hoarding every dollar. Now it is his pride, his freedom, his escape from the smallness of suburban life. He tells you to hold on tight. You do, locking your hands together across his stomach, pressing your chest against his back. The engine rumbles beneath you, alive, barely contained. He eases out the clutch. The bike rolls forward, slow at first, then faster as he shifts gears. The street blurs, houses flash past. The wind tears at your clothes, your hair, your face. You squint against it, eyes watering, trying to see, trying to breathe. The noise is overwhelming, the engine roaring, the wind howling, the world screaming past at 40, 50, 60 miles per hour. Your brother leans into a turn. The bike tilts, the pavement rushing up to meet you, so close you could reach down and touch it. Your stomach drops. You tighten your grip, trusting. Him, trusting the bike, trusting that physics will keep you upright. The turn straightens, the bike levels. Your brother accelerates, opening the throttle, the engine screaming. You're going 70 now, maybe faster. The road is a ribbon of grey, the landscape a smear of green and brown. You feel weightless, untethered, like you could lift off and fly. There is no helmet. Helmets are for racers, for professionals, for people who do not trust their skill. Your brother has been riding for 2 years. He knows what he is doing. And helmets are uncomfortable, expensive, unnecessary. This is what he tells himself. This is what everyone believes. You pass other motorcycles, other riders, none of them wearing helmets either. A man on a Harley, grey hair streaming behind him. A couple on a smaller bike, the woman in a skirt, her arms wrapped around the man's waist. A teenager on a dirt bike standing on the pegs showing off. The ride lasts 20 minutes, maybe 30. Your brother takes you through town, down the highway, along back roads where the trees form a canopy overhead and the air smells like dust and cut grass. Then he turns around, heads home, pulling into the driveway with a final roar of the engine before cutting it off. The silence is sudden, disorienting. Your ears ring, your legs shake as you climb off the bike. Your hair is a tangled mess. Your face is wind-burned. You feel exhilarated, alive, invincible. Your brother grins. Fun, right? You nod, speechless, still buzzing with adrenaline. Your mother comes to the door, sees you both, shakes her head. You're going to kill yourselves on that thing, she says, but her voice is resigned, not angry. This is a battle she has already lost. Motorcycles are freedom. They're rebellion. They are speed and risk and the thrill of feeling powerful in a world that often makes you feel small. And in 1955 they're ridden without helmets, without protective gear, without any acknowledgement that asphalt is unforgiving and skulls are fragile. The statistics are brutal. Motorcycle deaths are common. Head injuries are catastrophic. But the culture does not change. Helmets are seen as cowardly, as unnecessary, as something that ruins the experience. Real riders do not wear them. It will be decades before helmet laws are passed, before the evidence becomes undeniable, before society accepts that protection is not weakness. But right now, in the summer heat, with the bike cooling in the driveway and your heart still racing, helmets are the furthest thing from your mind. You just rode a motorcycle. You felt the speed. You survived. And you cannot wait to do it again. The house you live in was built 20 years ago, maybe 30. The walls are painted in cheerful colours, greens and yellows and soft blues. The paint is smooth, durable, beautiful. It is also full of lead. The insulation in the attic is wrapped in asbestos. The tiles in the basement contain it too. Nobody knows. Nobody warns. You live surrounded by materials that are slowly, silently dangerous. The paint in the nursery is pale yellow, bright and cheerful, chosen carefully by your mother when she was pregnant with you. She wanted something happy, something that would make you smile when you woke each morning. The painter applied it in smooth, even coats, covering the old beige beneath. It dried perfectly, glossy and clean. You spent your infancy in that room, crawling on the floor, pulling yourself up on the windowsill, teething on the crib rail. The paint tasted sweet, slightly metallic. When chips flaked off, you put them in your mouth, crunching them between your teeth. Your mother found you once, paint chips scattered around you, your mouth dusted white. She wiped you clean, threw the chips away, and thought nothing more of it. The lead in the paint is invisible. It does not announce itself. It simply exists, leaching slowly into the air, into the dust, into your small body. It accumulates in your bones, your blood, your brain. It will stay there for years, decades, a toxic burden you carry without knowing. Every house on your street is the same. Lead paint on the walls, the trim, the windowsills. Every child in the neighbourhood is being exposed, slowly poisoned by the very homes meant to protect them. But lead paint is not yet understood as dangerous. It is just paint, durable and beautiful and everywhere. The insulation in the attic is worse. Your father goes up there sometimes, crawling through the cramped space, checking for leaks, storing Christmas decorations. The insulation is thick and white, wrapped around pipes, stuffed between rafters. It keeps the house warm in winter, cool in summer. It is also asbestos, fibres so small they float in the air, invisible, deadly. Your father breathes them in. They settle in his lungs, embedding in the tissue, beginning a process that will take decades to manifest. He does not know. The insulation looks harmless. It is sold as safe, as modern, as the best material available. The basement tiles are asbestos too. You play down there on rainy days, building forts, riding your tricycle in circles. The tiles are cool and smooth, easy to clean. When one cracks, your father sweeps up the pieces and replaces it. The dust scatters, drifts, settles. Asbestos is in the ceiling tiles, the siding, the roof shingles. It is woven into the fabric of everyday life, ubiquitous and unquestioned. It will be decades before the link to cancer is established, before regulations are passed, before the material is banned. But even after the ban, the asbestos remains. Millions of homes still contain it, wrapped around pipes, pressed into tiles, lurking in attics and basements. Disturbing it releases the fibres. Removing it requires specialists, hazmat suits, careful containment. Leaving it alone is often safer. You live in one of those homes. You grew up breathing asbestos fibres, ingesting lead paint, absorbing toxins through your skin and lungs and digestive system. And you are fine, mostly. Or at least you think you are. The effects are subtle, cumulative, impossible to trace to a single source. Maybe your attention span is shorter than it should be. Maybe your test scores were lower than they could have been. Maybe the headaches you get, the fatigue, the vague sense of not being quite right, maybe those are connected to the lead. Or maybe they are not. You will never know. This is the hidden cost of living in the 50s. The materials that make life comfortable, that make homes affordable and durable, are also toxic. But the toxicity is invisible, the harm delayed, the connection uncertain. So people live in these houses, raise their children in these rooms, and trust that progress is always safe, that modern materials are always better. They are not. But by the time anyone realizes the damage is done, it is evening now, and the streetlights have just flickered on. You are walking home, tired and happy, your hands dirty from a day spent doing things that would horrify a modern parent. You climbed trees, you rode your bike too fast, you drank from a hose, you played with fireworks, you trusted strangers, and you survived. But so many others did not, and that is the truth that sits quietly beneath all this freedom. The sky's bruised purple, streaked with orange where the sun has just slipped below the horizon. The air is cooling, carrying the scent of cut grass and charcoal grills. You walk slowly, savouring the last few minutes before you have to go inside, before the day officially ends. Your knees are scraped from falling off the merry-go-round. Your arms are sunburned from hours at the quarry. Your hair smells like chlorine and hose water and smoke from the neighbour's burn barrel. You are filthy, exhausted, and deeply content. This was freedom. Real freedom. The kind that came without supervision, without structure, without the constant surveillance that will define childhood in decades to come. You made your own choices. You took your own risks. You learned your own limits, not from warnings or rules, but from experience, from consequence, from the sharp sting of mistakes. But freedom has a cost. You know this, even if you do not think about it often. You know the names of kids who did not make it home. Jimmy, who drowned in the quarry 2 summers ago, his body recovered 3 days later. Sarah, who was hit by a car while riding her bike, no helmet, no chance. The Miller boy, who lost 2 fingers to a cherry bomb that exploded in his hand. Their absences are felt but not discussed. Their tragedies are absorbed into the collective understanding that childhood is dangerous, that accidents happen, that some risks are simply part of growing up. There are no investigations, no regulations born from their deaths, just grief, quiet and private, and then life continues. You pass their houses on your walk home. The lights are on, families are inside, eating dinner, watching television, moving forward. The empty bedrooms remain empty. The bikes gather dust in garages. The world does not stop for lost children. It simply adjusts, makes room for the absence, and carries on. You think about this sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet. You think about how easily it could have been you, the fall from the tree that did not quite break your arm, the car that stopped just in time, the jump into the quarry that could have ended differently. You survived on luck as much as skill, on chance as much as caution. The freedom of the 50s is intoxicating. It is wonderful. It teaches independence, resilience, creativity. But it also demands a price. And that price is measured in children who did not come home, in parents who grieve privately, in communities that accept loss as inevitable. You reach your house. The porch light is on. Through the window you can see your mother setting the table. Your father is in his chair, newspaper open. Your little sister is playing on the floor. Normal, safe, home. You stand there for a moment, hand on the door, feeling the weight of the day settle over you, the joy and the fear, the freedom and the fragility, the knowledge that you were lucky today and that luck is not infinite. You open the door, the warmth of the house wraps around you. Your mother looks up, smiles, tells you to wash your hands before dinner. You do. The water runs brown, carrying away the dirt, the grass stains, the evidence of a day spent living fully. This is childhood in 1955, wild and free and beautiful and dangerous, a time when children were trusted to navigate the world on their own, to learn from their mistakes, to grow strong through trial and error. It was a gift, it was a gamble, and for those who survived, it was a childhood unlike any that would come after. The station wagon is the family vehicle of choice, long and wood-panelled, with a rear-facing seat in the very back. You and your siblings fight for that spot, the one that lets you wave at the cars behind you, make faces at strangers, watch the world recede as you move forward. There are no seat belts back there, no headrests, just a hard bench seat and a window, and the understanding that if your father stops suddenly, you will tumble forward like loose cargo. The car is a Ford Country Squire, cream-coloured with fake wood trim running along the sides. Your father is proud of it, washing it every Saturday, keeping the interior clean despite the constant invasion of children, groceries, and the family dog. The rear-facing seat is your favourite place in the world. You climb in through the tailgate, scrambling over the folded-down middle seat, claiming your spot before your brother can. He protests, but you got here first. Those are the rules. Your sister takes the middle row. Your parents settle in front. The dog, a golden retriever named Duke, sprawls across the floor in the back, his head resting on your feet. Your father starts. The engine. The car rumbles to life. That deep, comforting sound of a large engine ready to haul a large family wherever they need to go. He backs out of the driveway. You press your face against the rear window, watching your house grow smaller, watching the neighborhood slide away. The highway comes next. Your father merges into traffic, accelerating until the speedometer reads 60. Behind you, cars follow at safe distances, their drivers visible through their windshields. You wave at them. Some wave back. Some smile. Some ignore you entirely, focused on the road. The world looks different from back here. You're facing backward, watching where you have been instead of where you're going. It feels wrong and thrilling at the same time, like riding a ride at the carnival, like breaking a rule that has not yet been written. Trees rush past in reverse. Billboards appear suddenly, their messages already half gone by the time you read them. Your brother leans forward from the middle. Seat. Let me sit back there for a while. No, you say. I got here first. Your mother intervenes without turning round. You can switch at the next stop. The next stop is a gas station, 30 minutes down the road. Your father pulls in, parks beside the pumps. You and your brother trade places, the ritual of fairness playing out as it always does. He settles into the rear-facing seat, grinning with victory. You take the middle, less exciting but still acceptable. The trip continues. Hours pass. The landscape changes. Fields give way to hills, hills to mountains. You play games to pass the time, counting cows, spotting license plates from different states, singing songs until your parents beg you to stop. Duke shifts occasionally, his weight warm and comforting against your legs. The car smells like vinyl and dog and the sandwiches your mother packed for lunch. The engine hums steadily. The miles accumulate. Nobody wears seatbelts. The thought does not even occur to anyone. The station. Wagon is large and solid, built like a tank, and your father is a careful driver. What could go wrong? The rear-facing seat is bolted to the floor, the tailgate is latched. You're as safe as you need to be. When you finally arrive at your destination hours later, you tumble out of the car stiff and cramped, legs asleep, grateful to stand. The station wagon sits in the driveway, having carried your entire family hundreds of miles without incident, just as it always does. This is family travel in the 50s, practical, efficient, utterly unconcerned with the physics of what happens to unsecured bodies during a collision. You rode backward, you waved at strangers, you survived. And tomorrow, when you pile back in for the return trip, you will fight for that rear-facing seat all over again. The thermometer breaks, and instead of panic, there is fascination. Mercury spills across the table in perfect silver beads, rolling and merging, impossibly liquid and impossibly metal at the same time. You push it with your finger, watching it scatter and rejoin. Your mother tells you to be careful, but she does not stop you. Nobody knows yet that this beautiful element is poison. The thermometer was in the medicine cabinet, a slim glass tube filled with silver liquid and marked with red lines indicating temperature. Your mother used it this morning to check if you had a fever. You did not. She set it on the bathroom counter to cool, and you, curious and clumsy, knocked it to the floor. The glass shattered. The mercury escaped. And now it sits on the tile floor in dozens of tiny spheres, each one reflecting the bathroom light like a miniature mirror. You kneel down, mesmerized. The beads are unlike anything else you've ever touched. They are liquid, but they do not wet your skin. They are metal, but they flow like water. You gather them with your fingers, trying to collect them into one large blob. They resist at first, scattering when you push too hard, but with gentle pressure they merge, forming larger and larger spheres. Your mother appears in the doorway. What happened? The thermometer broke, you say, not looking up, still absorbed in the mercury. She sighs. Be careful with that. Try not to get it everywhere. She does not panic. She does not rush you out of the room. She simply grabs a piece of cardboard and a jar, kneeling beside you to help. Together, you coax the mercury onto the cardboard, tilting it gently so the beads roll together and drop into the jar. It is strangely satisfying watching the silver liquid pool at the bottom of the glass. Some of the smaller beads escape, rolling into cracks in the tile, disappearing into gaps too small for fingers to reach. Your mother shrugs. We got most of it. She screws the lid onto the jar and sets it on the counter. She'll throw it away later, tossing it into the trash without ceremony, without concern. You wash your hands, the water running clear, no trace of the mercury remaining, but it is on. Your skin absorbed through your pores, the element seeping into your bloodstream in amounts too small to measure but large enough to matter. You do not know this. Nobody knows this. Mercury is just mercury, a curiosity, a material used in thermometers and barometers and 100 other household items. At school, the science teacher keeps a jar of mercury on his desk. He pours it out during lessons, letting students pass it around, feel the weight of it, marvel at its properties. You dip your fingers in, watching the liquid part around your skin refusing to stick. The teacher explains that mercury is an element, a metal that is liquid at room temperature, unique and fascinating. He does not mention toxicity. He does not warn about vapour. He simply screws the lid back onto the jar and returns it to his desk, where it will sit for years, slowly releasing invisible poison into the classroom air. Decades later, you will read about mercury poisoning, about neurological damage, about tremors and memory loss and the long, slow accumulation of harm. You will wonder if the thermometers, the classroom demonstrations, the casual handling of a toxic element left any mark on you. But by then, it will be impossible to know. The damage, if it exists, is invisible, woven into the fabric of who you are. For now, though, you're just a child fascinated by a broken thermometer. The mercury is beautiful, the experience is memorable, and nobody, not even the adults who should know better, understands the danger. The hardware store is a wonderland of possibility. Shelves stacked with tools, bins filled with nails and screws, and along the back wall, rows of spray paint in every colour imaginable. You walk in with money from mowing lawns, pick out 3 cans and carry them to the counter. The clerk rings them up without question. You're 12. The paint is yours. The bell above the door jingles as you enter. The store smells like sawdust and oil, like metal and possibility. You love this place. It is quieter than the grocery store, less crowded than the Five and Dime, and filled with items that feel important, adult, purposeful. You head straight to the paint section. The cans are organised by colour, lined up on metal shelves like soldiers at attention. Red, blue, yellow, green, black, white, silver, gold. Each can promises transformation, the ability to take something old and make it new, something plain and make it interesting. You're building a go-kart with your friends, a project that has consumed every free moment for the past 2 weeks. You found the wheels behind the garage. Tommy's father donated some scrap wood. Sarah's older brother helped with the axle. Now all you need is paint to make it look official, professional, like something that could actually race. You select your colours carefully. Red for the body, black for the wheels, silver for accents. You carry the cans to the counter, stacking them beside the register. The clerk, an older man, with grease-stained hands and a permanent squint, glances at the cans, then at you. Building something, he asks. A go-kart, you say proudly. He nods, approving. Good project. He rings up the cans, tells you the total. You hand him the crumpled bills from your pocket, sweaty from being clutched too tightly. He makes change, drops the coins into your palm and slides the cans into a paper bag. Be careful with that paint, he says. Use it outside. Do not breathe the fumes too much. Okay, you say, though you're not entirely sure what fumes are or why you should avoid them. You carry the bag home, the cans clinking together with each step. At the vacant lot where the go-kart waits, you tear open the bag and shake the first can. The ball bearing inside rattles, a satisfying sound that means the paint is ready. You spray. Red mist fills the air, settling onto the wood, transforming it instantly. The smell is sharp and chemical, burning your nose, making your eyes water. You keep spraying, covering every inch, determined to make this go-kart perfect. Your friends take turns. Tommy sprays the wheels black. Sarah adds silver stripes along the sides. The fumes build, thick and visible in the afternoon heat. You feel lightheaded, dizzy, but you do not stop. The go-kart is almost done. Just a little more. Nobody warns you about ventilation. Nobody mentions brain damage or respiratory harm. The paint is just paint, available to anyone with money, sold without restriction or hesitation. The solvents you use to clean the nozzles are equally accessible, equally toxic, equally unregulated. You finish painting and step back to admire your work. The go-kart gleams, bright and beautiful, the paint still wet and glistening. You are proud. You built this. You made something real. The dizziness fades after a while. The headache that follows lasts through dinner. Your mother asks if you feel all right. You say yes, because you do, mostly. Just tired from working outside. This is childhood in the 50s. Hardware stores trust you. Paint is unrestricted. Solvents are sold to anyone. The dangers are unknown or ignored, and the projects, the creations, the things you build with your own hands feel worth any risk you do not yet understand you are taking. The game is simple and stupid and endlessly entertaining. You find an empty glass bottle, drop a lit firecracker inside and run. The explosion is amplified, the glass shattering into shards that spray across the pavement. Everyone scatters, laughing and ducking, then regroups to do it again. Nobody loses an eye. Nobody thinks they might. The bottles are everywhere. Soda bottles, milk bottles, beer bottles scavenged from behind the corner store. Glass is the currency of summer mischief, and you collect it like treasure, stashing empties in a cardboard box behind the garage. The firecrackers come from the stand at the edge of town, sold without questions to anyone with pocket change. You bought a whole brick of them last week, hundreds of firecrackers wrapped in red paper, their fuses protruding like tiny tongues. You've been rationing them, making them last, but today feels like a day for excess. You gather in the vacant lot the usual crew: Tommy, Sarah, Bobby, the Miller twins. Someone produces a bottle, green glass, still smelling faintly of ginger ale. You pull a firecracker from the pack, light it with a match, and drop it through the narrow opening. The fuse hisses. You run. The explosion is louder than you expected, a sharp crack that echoes off the nearby buildings. The bottle disintegrates, glass flying in every direction, glittering in the sunlight. Pieces land 10 feet away, 15, some still spinning when they hit the pavement. You whoop with delight. Tommy claps you on the back. Sarah is already finding another bottle. The game continues, bottle after bottle, explosion after explosion. Glass accumulates on the pavement, crunching under your shoes. The lot looks like a battlefield. Shards scattered everywhere, catching the light like fallen stars. Once, a piece of glass cuts your arm, a shallow slice that beads blood. You wipe it on your shirt and keep playing. Another time, Bobby is standing too close when a bottle explodes and a shard grazes his cheek. He touches the spot, sees blood on his fingers, grins. "Battle scar," he says. Nobody stops. Nobody suggests that maybe, possibly, this is dangerous. The danger is part of the appeal, the explosion, the shattering, the spray of glass. It is chaos you can control, destruction you can cause and walk away from. Your mother, if she knew, would tell you to stop, but she does not know. You're out of sight, out of earshot, free to make your own terrible decisions. This is how you learn limits, not from warnings, but from experience, not from rules, but from the occasional cut, the close call, the moment when you realize you almost went too far. The sun sinks lower. The firecrackers run out. The lot is covered in glass, sparkling and dangerous. You kick through it, listening to the crunch, feeling powerful and reckless and invincible. Tomorrow the lot will still be covered in glass. Kids will play here, barefoot, trusting. Someone will step on a shard, scream, limp home with blood soaking their sock. Parents will shake their heads, bandage the wound, and life will continue. Because this is the 50s. Danger is ambient. Glass is everywhere. Firecrackers are toys. And childhood is a long experiment in not dying, a series of close calls and lucky breaks that most kids survive but some do not. You walk home as the streetlights flicker on, your hands smelling like gunpowder, your ears still ringing from the explosions. Your mother asks if you had fun. You say yes. She does not ask what you did. You do not tell her. Some things are better left unsaid. The shed in the backyard holds everything your father needs to maintain the lawn and garden. Bags of fertilizer, rusted tools, and rows of unmarked containers filled with liquids in various colours, green, amber, clear. Some have labels, most do not. On a hot day, thirsty and thoughtless, you might grab the wrong one. The containers look like juice bottles. Nobody has invented child-proof caps yet. Nobody has colour-coded poisons. The shed is your father's domain, a small wooden structure that smells like earth and chemicals and old paint. The door creaks when you open it, sunlight slicing through the dim interior, illuminating dust motes floating in the air. You're looking for the watering can. Your mother asked you to water the tomatoes, and you're trying to be helpful, trying to earn the praise that comes from completing chores without complaint. The watering can sits in the corner, green plastic, dusty from disuse. But on your way to grab it, you notice the shelves, rows of bottles and jugs, some glass, some plastic, filled with liquids and colours that catch the light. Your father uses them for the lawn, for killing weeds, for fertilising the roses. You've seen him pour them into the sprayer, mixing them with water, dousing the grass until it glistens. One bottle looks like apple juice, golden and clear. Another resembles ginger ale, amber and carbonated looking. A third is bright green like lime soda. They are unmarked, or the labels have faded, or your father reused old containers and never bothered to relabel them. You're not thirsty right now, but you could be. On another day, after playing hard, after running until your throat is dry and your tongue feels thick, you might see these bottles and think, drink. You might unscrew a cap, raise the bottle to your lips, and swallow before the taste registers as wrong. Children do this. Every summer, emergency rooms see them. Kids who drank weed killer thinking it was juice. Kids who sipped fertilizer thinking it was soda. Kids who trusted that things in bottles are meant to be consumed because that is what bottles are for. The containers are not designed to prevent this. There are no child-proof caps, no bright warning labels, no bitter additives to make the liquid undrinkable. Just ordinary bottles filled with poison, stored at child height, accessible to anyone curious or careless enough to open them. Your father knows what is in each bottle. He has a system, a mental inventory that makes sense to him, but you do not know the system. Your younger sister does not know the system. And if either of you are thirsty enough, distracted enough, unlucky enough, you might choose wrong. You grab the watering can and leave the shed, pulling the door closed behind you. The bottles remain on their shelves, waiting. This time, you made the right choice. This time, you did not mistake poison for juice. But the margin of error is thin. The consequences are severe, and the culture of the 50s does not yet recognize this as a problem worth solving. Chemicals are tools. Tools belong in sheds. Children are expected to know better, to use common sense, to avoid obvious dangers, except the dangers are not obvious. Not to a 6-year-old, not to a child who's been taught that bottles contain things you drink, and that sheds contain things that belong to adults but are not necessarily off limits. Years from now, regulations will change. Poisons will come in clearly marked containers. Child-proof caps will become mandatory. Warning labels will be large and unmistakable. Bitter agents will be added to make accidental ingestion less likely. But right now, in the summer of 1955, the shed is just a shed. The bottles are just bottles, and the difference between watering the tomatoes and poisoning yourself is nothing more than reaching for the right container. You water the garden. The tomatoes drink deeply, their leaves perking up in the afternoon heat. You finish the chore and return the watering can to the shed, carefully, placing it exactly where you found it. The bottles watch from their shelves, silent, patient, waiting for the day when someone reaches for the wrong one. So tonight, as you settle deeper into your blankets, the soft kind, not the scratchy wool ones, let's take a breath and look back at the world we just walked through. 1955. A time when children roamed freely until the streetlights came on, when neighbours left their doors unlocked, when trust was the default and caution was still learning its lines. It was a world built on freedom and faith, on the belief that people were generally good and that childhood required risk to become real. For all its dangers, for all the ways it would horrify us now, there was something beautiful in that trust. In the way parents sent their children into the world and believed they would return. In the way strangers stopped to offer rides. In the way communities held together not through surveillance or structure, but through familiarity, through the quiet knowledge that you belonged to a place and it belonged to you. The people who lived this era didn't think of themselves as living in history. They were just living, waking up, making coffee, sending their kids outside, mowing lawns, burning trash, trusting that tomorrow would come and that they would be ready for it. They made mistakes. They took risks we would never take now. But they also built lives filled with connection, with simplicity, with a kind of freedom that feels almost mythical from where we stand today. So as you drift towards sleep tonight, maybe carry something small from that world forward into your own. Slow down just a little. Notice a neighbour. Trust a moment. Let yourself feel the texture of an ordinary day, the weight of it, the gift of it. History is not always grand. Sometimes it is just a screen door, a garden hose, and someone down the street who knows your name. And that is enough. That has always been enough. Good night. And may your rest be gentle, your dreams be kind, and your tomorrow feel just a little bit softer than today.